I wake up in my childhood bedroom. How did this happen? I'm 23 years old. Yesterday I had my own place. Well, it wasn't really mine. I had a roommate, one of my oldest friends, but I must admit I didn't like living there. He was a fine roommate, it was the location. He was still in college, so we were living on a university campus. I'd already graduated, so what the hell was I doing there? Not fucking any college girls, that's for sure. I was too busy watching porn for that. Not making the most of my college degree, that's for sure. Not saving any money up. Not pursuing my artistic aspirations. I was in a dead zone. I was in Stephen King's dead zone. I'm still there, only the scenery has changed. Reverted back to what it was before I moved out. I get out of bed. It's late, later than I intended. Now I feel like shit. I hate sleeping the morning away. It's just about the least productive thing you can do. I go downstairs. Fox News is on, and I want to kill myself. I put in my AirPods, a product I despise, and listen to a podcast I don't like, cover a movie I've already seen, and formed my own opinion on. I think back to the days before I learned Hollywood was a front for a satanic sex cult, back when I wanted to direct movies of my own. My car's out front. I hate my car. I hate driving. It's inhuman. Rush, 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 honk, honk, honk. We've traded sanity and clean air for convenience. Only really how convenient is it that you have to pay insurance and gas money for something you don't really need? And you don't need it, no one ever has. You just aren't imaginative enough to figure out how to live without it. I've never done one goddamn good thing with that car. That ends today. I've already packed. I've left home before to move into that aforementioned apartment I used to lease, so leaving this time is easy. Even leaving my dog is easy. I'll miss him, but he's not really my dog anymore. I've been gone too long. Now I'm driving. I hate the process, but this is the first time it's felt just as good as bad. At least I'm doing something. Going somewhere that isn't a soul-crushing, time-wasting job or a fast food restaurant. I'm going to the desert. Why? Because mentally, I'm already there. My brain wanders a desolate wasteland, looking for anything resembling hope for myself and the future. At least I'm not forming a fight club or putting on Joker makeup. Other men have handled their own existential crises much more poorly than I'm handling mine. At least there's that. I let myself enjoy the drive out of state. I know the rush of freedom is temporary and possibly false, but it's so hard to feel joy these days. I have to take what I can get, real or imagined. The view gets better as the journey goes on. Music is more fun to listen to. The songs I prefer my whole life suddenly complement the change of scenery, and it's like hearing them for the first time all over again. Now I'm at a hotel. I want to break up the trip. There's no rush. I'm sick of rushing. I don't want to be in a rush ever again. A local pizzeria is in walking distance. I go, have a beer, eat a pizza, watch the TV above the bar. I hate televised sporting events, but where they once seemed to attack my very personhood, now I see them for what they are. Unreal, holographic, easily ignored if I choose to ignore them, and I do. The next morning, I eat the hotel's free breakfast and keep driving. I wanted to make this journey on foot, wanted it to take incalculable months. Probably I should have. Maybe I would have been robbed and beaten and left for dead, which would be painful, but at least I would never have to rush again. Mountains and foliage and little 50-person towns and farmland and decaying Americana. God, I love this song. I don't miss anything or anyone. For all intents and purposes, I'm dead and conducting a leisurely haunting of the Southwest. It's the evening when I arrive at the house of two old friends from high school. Well, not friends exactly. Friends are equals. I know these guys, but I've always been a little jealous of them. They seem to have more fun than me. But I don't have the energy to be jealous now. I'm not seeking validation from them. I'm seeking free room and board, and they're providing it. The house hasn't been vacuumed, never mind mopped, in months. But that's okay, because the Arizona air is less humid even though it's hot, and it will get hotter. The coffee they buy sucks, but that's okay, because there's a bar in walking distance that has draft beer for only $3 a glass. We go. There's a man in a blue dress and lipstick sitting with another man, talking about male peacocks and his aspirations to be like them. He is succeeding, I suppose. These old friends of mine have made many new friends. Most of them are handsome people, either married or engaged. One of these old friends of mine is himself engaged, and I guess you meet a lot of other engaged couples when you become one. But the other of these old friends of mine is not engaged. He has no preoccupation, no exceptionally distracting responsibilities. He's taken some days off work to be a good host, which I'm extremely grateful for. I don't mind exploring a new place alone, but it sure is fun to have company. I lose all sense of time. Days or maybe weeks go by. I sleep on the couch with the house cat. The night before he showed up at their door, my friend had a dream about a giant woman with the head of a cat, so I guess he doesn't need to be neutered or given any shots because he's probably a supernatural entity. I used to be allergic to cats, but I don't get so much as a stuffy nose around this one. We do a lot of walking, my friend and I, not really going anywhere, but just getting reacquainted, sharing our surprisingly similar opinions on art, philosophy, religion. It's an echo chamber of sorts, but that's okay for now, because I've gone so long without being able to say anything I really feel. Not that I can say what I'm feeling, because the English language is ferociously limiting, but I can say approximately what I feel, and that's good enough, because my friend and I come from similar backgrounds and know how to read between the lines of each other's monologues. A big group of us goes to a lazy river. We spend a whole day floating and drinking. I get sunburned, but I don't care. I hardly feel it. There are so many beautiful young women, but all of them have boyfriends already. And besides, I'm sick to death of sex. I've indulged myself in thoughts of sex for over 10 years, and it's never done a damn thing for me. I'm more apparition than ape now. I only masturbate once the whole time I'm in Arizona, never mind try to get laid. Seeing mountains on the weekly drive to the neighborhood Walmart is the most beautiful part of being here. One morning, I wake up to find my friend making a brown tea in the kitchen. I know all about it already. It's been one of our many topics of discussion the past few weeks. I'm not ready, per se, nor am I not ready. I've turned off the intellectual, the logical, the fearful, and the hopeful. I'm calling my own bluff. If I have nothing to live for, then there's nothing keeping me from this. Worst case scenario, the tea makes my organs explode and I die. It's early June, which means the days are scorching, so we leave early. The goal is to be at the top of the Superstition Mountains by 11 o'clock or so. We'll spend the afternoon in the shade and climb down around 5. We stop at Whataburger. We order sandwiches with no toppings or condiments. We don't want them to get soggy inside our backpacks. The climb is just difficult enough to be noticeable. I'm out of shape. It feels so good to be using my legs and arms. We're nearing the top. It's the off-season and no one else is around. My friend hands me a large thermos full of the brown tea. I drink. It doesn't taste as awful as expected. In fact, it has no taste at all. The sludgy texture is not bothersome. I finish it quickly, return the thermos. We're at the top. There's a lovely alcove tailor-made for weary travelers, with just enough room to sit and be shielded from the sun. We can see for miles, and there's nothing but more mountains and 1,000 trees. It becomes easy to laugh and joke. Then quite suddenly I become delightfully aware of the fact that I have no arms. I never did. These stupid contraptions I think of as mine are not mine at all. They are no part of the real me. My entire body is no better than the cars I despise so much. It's a vehicle I've leased from an owner with no identity. This understanding that I am not the physical being that, moments ago, I believed I was, brings such sheer relief that cannot be described. I look and see the very rocks upon which I sit are moving in place, in a slow zigzag pattern that looks like melting chocolate ice cream. The mountain is breathing. It is alive. Every rock smiles, happy that I am finally able to comprehend them as they comprehend me. I weep then, for I realize I have been here before, some 1,000-odd years ago. I weep because I left, and don't remember why. How very stupid I was to think anything was better than this. I weep because I am grateful to finally return. I weep because I shall have to leave again, for a time, but I refuse to think about that now. A young couple walk past us. The mountain is a grouchy old man. It's not that he hates travelers, but he wants no part of travelers who do not respect him. The young couple only wants to take pictures, to say they've been somewhere without actually appreciating the place. The mountain wants them to leave, and I seriously consider telling them so. But then they do leave, and a little old man walks by, accompanied by his son. The mountain is a gentle woman now, simultaneously young and old, beautiful and wise. She is delighted with the little old man, who, despite his outward appearance, is a mere child to her eons-old eyes. She watches him appreciate the view, exactly the way the young couple failed to do. I find myself equally delighted in him, and laugh some more. The old man and his son leave eventually. My friend is still there, but he does not feel the mountain's presence as strongly as I. He has someone else to talk to, and goes for a walk. This is okay with me. I am pleased to sit with the mountain in silence. She can speak, but she speaks in images, which she transmits to my brain via magical telepathy I cannot explain. She shows me the little ways in which she has always been with me, even when great distance would appear to separate us. As a small child, I used to pick up the white rocks from my grandparents' driveway and put them into plastic bottles. A piece of her lived in each of those white rocks, guiding and guarding me while I was away. She explains that my affinity for Western movies was in their desert scenery, which offered a subconscious reminder of where I had come from. Yes, I am 1,000 years old, as it turns out. I am the reincarnation of the lover of a goddess, or at least a demi-goddess, or maybe the spirit of a dead witch, the good kind of witch, you understand. Maybe it is Mother Nature herself. I know not who it is, but I feel her, more pure and more real than any brand of experience I have ever tasted before. I look out at our view, resting my head against her rocky wall, which is somehow comfortable in my state. Though I still feel not my arms, I caress her every reachable inch, marveling in the texture. I wish to melt right into the wall, to cease to exist as anything recognizable to the outsider looking in, to be but another chunk of rock within this mountain. I am promised that one day I shall be blessed with this most peaceful of afterlives. At some point, I grow aware that I ought to eat and drink, so I take my dry hamburger from my backpack. I eat while the goddess silently, kindly chides me about how poorly I have been taking care of myself lately. Too much junk food, too much porn, too much of everything, really. I ought to take better care of myself when I go back down. Back down. I want to cry again at the thought, but deep down I know I must. I feel like an idiot for ever having chosen to become human in the first place. Clearly I was something else once. The last few hours have made much clearer that wasn't before. So many burning questions, answered with such simplicity. If you have ever drank such tea as I had that morning, you probably know. You know of the wonderful kindness and fairness of the very cosmos, the falsity that exists in just about every man-made thing visible to the naked eye, the wretched lie of all comprehensible religion, government, economy, law, even art. Only the incomprehensible is beautiful and good and true. We had to convince ourselves otherwise, I guess, because we somehow grew unaccustomed and frightened of the incomprehensible. But to the uninitiated, if only I could tell you how relieving it is to cease the act of comprehending. To know nothing but your little private nook in the mountains of Arizona, that is something above happiness, for happiness has its opposite, and can only be enjoyed if you occasionally experience unhappiness. What I am talking about has no term and no opposite. We call this thing heaven or nirvana. Maybe it is the food, or the realization and acceptance that I have to return to my life in our cursed, hellish, man-made world, but I begin slowly to come back to my shell of a body. I have to get up to piss, and find the sunlight is tolerable, and that not sitting with my whole body pushed up against my beloved mountain is somehow also tolerable, and that is more or less how the afternoon and my high wind down. My friend returns with impeccable timing from his own journey, and we climb back down the mountain. Neither of us feel much like going home yet, so we stop at the closest Sonic, where we still have a good close view of the Superstition Mountains. I buy a cherry Coke,